Um, yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to our online devotional. It's a Wednesday with Dr. Papu, and today, of course, we're dealing with the problem of pain. Before I introduce our speaker, you would have noticed that we have some branding and a new name um, under this or for our online devotional. We did this because we felt that it was necessary to formalize everything and to sort of organize this community into one name or under one name, so that we can share the content of these devotionals together on several platforms, or share them with you, the recordings and the videos on several platforms across social media. And so we felt that it was important for us to just have a name that we could use to introduce the idea and to share all the content. And some people might ask, who is CrossOvr? CrossOvr is this community. It's us. It's you. It's myself. It's what we've been doing. Sharing the word through dialogue and not just monologous preaching, but through dialoguing and interacting and and growing spiritually together. So yeah, welcome to CrossOvr. So that's what we will be from now on, which will make us easily identifiable, and that CrossOvr doesn't become the name or the face of one person, but it becomes a community. It's ours. It's for all of us, by all of us, and it's not run by one individual, or nor does it belong to any one individual or a group of individuals, but it belongs to all of us. So welcome home, guys. Welcome home. And we're glad that you could be here and you could join us once again for our session this Thursday. Just a few housekeeping rules. We'll just continue to ask everyone to kill their videos, and we'll have Pastor Papu's video running through the session, just so that we can ensure quality of recording, as well as make sure that our reception of the message is not disturbed by the demands on the network. As the first one, if you could just all kill your videos and then allow Pastor Papu's or Dr. Papu's video to be the only one that will be flighted. And then secondly, we'll ask everyone to just mute themselves. Of course, the host, CrossOvr, will mute all of us as the devotional is going on, but if you can, just also mute yourselves so that we don't pick up background sounds and noises wherever you are, to give you that privacy. And then we also want to welcome everyone, or encourage everyone, to post their comments in the chat session. You'll see at the bottom of your screens, there's a chat option. You can post your questions to myself privately, to ask anything that has to do with what has been shared today. And yeah, so then we'll give them over to, I'll hand them over to Pastor Papu for engagement and to respond to them. And of course, as our culture and custom here, it's not just Pastor Papu alone who answers the questions, but I think we all have leeway and the right to respond if we feel that we've got something useful to say, or something beneficial to say to address whatever question has been asked. So finally, being CrossOvr, we are on Twitter as @_CrossOvr, and of course, some of us have been retweeting some of the tweets from today. You'd see them under my profile as well on Twitter, PagiMP. So @CrossOvr, that's for tweeting. And for those of you who will be live tweeting throughout the session, we ask you to please tag @_CrossOvr in your tweets for us to retweet, and also just for to flight them also on our own personal profiles. And we're also available on Instagram as well under the same name @CrossOvr. We then also, without much further ado, want to introduce our speaker, Dr. Papu, who's a friend, personal friend of my friend, Dr. Papu, who has agreed to be part of this discussion today. He's, of course, the president of the Cape Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, residing in Port Elizabeth, an ardent and avid and able cyclist, and an accomplished athlete who's run several Comrades marathons. So I'm just, highlighting that, not to, and highlighting that to just ensure that you're aware that he's a man who's well acquainted with pain. I mean, if it takes a lot of pain to run and finish and complete a comrades marathon. But of course, I'm sure he's gone through some extremely challenging situations in his life that have also allowed him to reflect a bit more on the subject and topic of pain. So without much further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Papu to you. So over to you, Mfundisi. You can start. Mngani wami.
If I'm unmuting. Greetings to everyone. Sorry that I'm the celebrity for the next few minutes. So together with Stu, thank you for upgrading me to your level. I appreciate that. Let's delve into our painful subject on pain and see how far we can go. We will not, of course, belabor the point and make it painful as it appears to be. The problem of pain. Now, before I say anything, I think I need to read a text here so that you can keep thinking as I'm saying it. How is it going to connect it with the text? Let's see. Matthew 11:28. You know the text by heart. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, and I'm gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And I want to argue and submit to all of us here that the rest that is promised there is the rest not from pain, but the rest even while we are in pain. And that's the point I'm going to make. And then our topic is the problem of pain. And let me answer that now, and we'll unpack that and link it to our text. The problem of pain, I must say from the start, is our problem with pain. The problem of pain is our problem, it's our attitude, it's how we look at pain, how we perceive pain. That's the problem. So if you can change that, we would not have a problem with pain. We will not even be worried so much about this. So without even trying to play with words, the problem of pain is that we think, or we've concluded, and I don't think we are wrong, that pain is harmful. We think pain is harmful. And I want to argue that pain is not harmful, but there's something that is harmful, and we need to address that. But pain is not harmful. It can kill you. Maybe it's harmful in a way, but generally pain is not harmful. And this problematizing of pain, making pain a problem, it makes us it makes us to take time talking about pain. You know, we enjoy talking about pain. And in meet with a person 2 years ago, we mention our pain, we talk about pain because it's a problem. It's like this thing shouldn't have happened. It's like pain is this thing that gets into our life. It mustn't be there. We don't, and I'm not saying it should be, but it's like somebody has told that we're not supposed to go through pain. That's why we have a problem with it. We've been here in this world for, I don't know how many years, but in pain and seeing pain, but we still have a problem. It's like, no, it's a mistake. I'm unfortunate. I'm not supposed to have pain. So we analyze pain. We talk about pain. We cry. We hug each other. It's painful. But the problem with that is we never talk about how to respond to that pain. We don't delve, because it's like if you respond to the pain, you're making pain now something that's not supposed to be bad. In other words, if you're saying, I'm hungry, people have stolen my food, and I say, okay, fine, this is what we're going to do. But people are not willing to do that, because if you do that, then you are killing the pain. So pain must always remain that we want to talk about pain. We don't want you to tell us how to respond to pain, because if we respond to pain, now pain ceases to be painful because now we have responded. So we have no time to talk about our response. We talk about our past. We talk about how painful it has been. We write books on the pain. We feel good because we can articulate how painful our situation is. And I think there is some sense in doing that. But I think we get to a point where this analysis is too much, to a point where we have no time to respond. We have no time to come up with strategies of dealing with this thing called pain. And I think Stu is right that those of us who cycling, of course, they are more elite than me, them and Mandela. I used to be ahead of them at some point. I don't know what happened. I think they became fitter or I became unfit. I don't know. But there's pain. There's pain. When you get there on the start, you know there's going to be pain. It would be foolish to say, hey, it was painful. That we know. It's painful. I mean, honestly, I mean, why are you going to tell us it's painful? All we want to know is what's your time. Don't tell us about the pain. Oh, but it was painful. Painful what? What do you mean painful? You think you get to cycle? If you don't want pain, you should have sat in front of a TV on the sofa and watch it. If you're on the road, you should expect it. But here's a problem with us. We are on the road of life, but for some reason, somebody has told us that you're not supposed to have pain. So once we have pain, we stop cycling and we say, oh, I can't cycle, I've got pain. And then we tell everybody who's passing, I've got pain. But what we should ask is, but what are you doing? Why are you here making this noise of pain? I'm not saying that even in the literal sense that when you cycle, you may not have pain. That makes you not to cycle. But I hope you get the point that I'm making, that pain is part of cycling. It is part of running. Those who have done comrades, you know there's going to be pain as you stand there. It doesn't matter who your father. It doesn't matter how much you believe in God. It doesn't matter how much you understand about 666. You're going to have pain. You're going to have pain. And if you don't want to have pain, don't get there. Don't start. If you start, you're going to have pain. I can say that about life, that if you think there's no pain in this life, go back to your, I don't know, almost said go back to where you came from. I'm not sure where you came from, but there's pain. But let's also maybe make a distinction within this pain quickly before I there's an overdose on this thing. Of course, okay, let's accept it. Pain is not always bad. In general, it's not all bad. There are pains that are necessary. I mean, no pain, no gain. You exercise, you put yourself through pain to increase your threshold of pain, your pain threshold, so that it takes time for you to feel the pain. Maybe we should do that also emotionally, but maybe we'll talk about that later. There's a pain of self-discipline. If you have to study, it's painful, but I mean, you know, in the end, you'll get rewarded for that. So it's not that bad. But doctors also are excited when they know that you feel pain at times. It's not all pain that need pain killers. If they are not sure whether they are paralyzed and they prick you and then you jump, it says hallelujah. So the fact that you can feel the pain, it shows that you're alive, and it can be a good sign for a doctor, and he can be excited that you feel the pain. If you say, I don't feel any pain, nobody says hallelujah, now you're going to be enjoying your life. You're not going to be feeling pain. Because when you don't feel pain, it means something has died. You're supposed to feel pain. So that's the one side of pain. But there is another side of pain. Let's be honest. There is another side of pain, the pain that comes from natural evil. You know, the cancer, the doctor tells that you have got cancer. Hey, that's the pain. And then it's painful. Then you have to have pain tablets and medication, death. There's pandemic of virus and the respiratory complications because of the virus can be painful. You can't walk, you can't do this, you can't breathe properly. It's painful. And that is to do with natural things. And I think the virus didn't just sit there and plan to attack you and had your name. Those things are there in the atmosphere we live in. Maybe they're not there in another planet, but in this planet, it would appear that we're faced with that. But there's a pain of moral pain. You know, moral pain that comes, I call it moral pain, really, but it's pain that comes from moral evil. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Pain that comes from moral evil. You know, people are making choices and they rape and they kill. That's painful, man. Don't like that. They've got malicious intentions. They say things about you and it's painful. But there's another pain, which is very painful also. It's when you feel like God is punishing me. Now that one may actually take different forms. It could come via virus. You say, the reason I have virus is because God is punishing me. So the pain is not the virus, it's God punishing you. Or the reason I was raped, or the reason I was my mother was killed, or I'm just talking about horrible things, it's because God is punishing me for what I did. And we even ask him, what have I done, Lord? Why me? Why are you punishing me? You're not asking the virus, you're not asking the killer, you're not asking the rapist, you're asking God. Especially Christians can actually feel acute pain because we feel like God has let us down. You are supposed to have protected us. It goes to a point where we are embarrassed when we are in pain. You know, for example, if I know I'm going through pain, like I've got cancer, sometimes I said, don't tell anyone. You know, people should not know that I've got prostate cancer. It's because you are ashamed, you are embarrassed about. So it becomes more painful because you must hide it and pretend to be okay. You can't tell. I'm not saying go around telling everybody, but there's a feeling that pain is an embarrassment. And if you look at the Bible, you'll find that it makes sense, especially theologically, to those of us who associate pain with punishment, but from God, divine punishment. So you meet this person who's deformed or is in trouble, and says, who sinned, this person or the father? So which means when people look at you and say, hey, the pastor is in pain, maybe the Lord is punishing him. By the way, I had prostate cancer, it was removed. And so somebody said to my wife, I think it was well-meaning, that you are the one who has caused the pastor to have the prostate because you've not been cooking very well. I don't think that was nice. I think that was more painful than the cancer itself. So you end up feeling embarrassed when you have pain. How can you have cancer or a pastor, which means you're not a good vegetarian? So you're embarrassed. You know, I'm just using myself as an example. So, and then people also shy away from you. You hear that your friend has a problem, he has pain, he has been diagnosed with cancer, he's going to live for 3 months. You stop visiting. You're afraid, you don't want to visit, you're shy. You know, it's like you're not supposed to have pain. And so pain is stigmatized. The very fact that you have pain, it becomes a stigma. And now those things may be more painful than pain itself. But what I want to bring when I say the problem we have, the problem of pain is our problem with pain, is that pain, when we make it a problem, it leads to suffering. And I want to make a distinction between pain and suffering. I know grammatically it may not be one and the same thing, but just follow me here on another level, that you have pain, then you have suffering. And some of the things we call pain is suffering. And some of the things we call suffering is pain. But with the distinction I'm going to give you just now. So the problem of pain is that more often than not, it leads to suffering. And that's something that we can, which I think I agree, it's optional. Let me give you the difference that I read from what was this thing that I saw, this habits for well-being. Now let me just read this. Tell me if, when you ask questions, if you agree with this. Pain is a physical sensation. I think we can agree with that. It signals or tells us something is happening within your body in relation to an event or stimulation. That's fine, or situation. That's fine. We know that there's that sensation. But suffering, here's the very interesting part. Suffering is an interpretation of that. It's an interpretation. Suffering is an interpretation or story, or a story that you tell yourself about the pain. So if I'm going through pain and I tell myself about it, I said, I'm suffering, I'm having this pain because God is rejecting me, then that's suffering. So it has moved from pain to suffering. So suffering is is your interpretation. So we say now, and the statement says the suffering therefore is optional. Suffering is optional. Pain may be inevitable. So we all go through pain, but whether you're going to suffer from your pain is optional. And the problem with suffering, people who are suffering, I'm not talking about pain, people who are suffering usually inflict pain on others, and those may end up suffering as well. So if I am suffering, you see, suffering immobilizes, suffering just is toxic. Suffering destroys relationship. When you choose to suffer, when you opt for suffering, you're going to destroy, you're going to cause pain. So wounded people cause wounds. Hurting people hurt others. People who are in pain cause pain. But actually, it is suffering that makes you to be insensitive. Now, for example, let's come up with a very painful story here. Okay, let me give you a nice one, and then I'm going to give you a painful one. Here's a guy. Actually, this illustration was first narrated to me when we were, I think I must have been 22 years old, doing theology at Bethel by Dubuisson. I don't know how some of you know Dubuisson. So Dubuisson tells a story. I've never forgotten the story. He says the whole issue is about interpretation and reinterpretation. You've got to reinterpret. It makes a big difference. He says there's a person standing next to the traffic lights. He wants to cross the road. And then while he stands there, he feels this sensation. There's pain. Somebody has just hit him on the ankle with a stick. And he feels like he's being attacked. Somebody wants to rob him. And he is trying to immobilize him. So he turns. I'm talking about the person who's feeling the pain, turns and looks at the person who has just done that, and he discovers that this person that has just done this is blind. So he's actually not trying to hit me. He's not deliberate, malicious. He's trying to feel his way. So what happens? He says, now your mind, when you turned, you were ready to fight or to run. You were ready to say, it was painful, but it was not just the pain that was an issue. It was the interpretation that somebody is trying to hurt me. That's where suffering comes in. But when you turn, you see, no, it's a blind person. Now you reinterpret. So it remains painful, but not suffering. You can limp across the street. You're laughing. You're talking to the blind man. It's okay. It's fine. So you're not suffering, but the pain is there because you've reinterpreted. You've interpreted, no, this was not harmful. It was not meant to harm me. So I'm fine. I can move on. Actually, kids do that as well. A child will cry if he interprets what we are doing as inflicting pain. But if you do this and he looks at you, you're laughing, he says, no, I don't have to suffer there. It's not intentional. It's all about interpretation. Now, but let's take a serious case. So you've got a member as a pastor who reports to your office and says, I've been raped when I was 12. For the last 30 years, I've been stuck in being 12 and I can't deal with that. So it's no longer pain, the pain of being raped. It's suffering. He has been suffering for the last 30 years. But the pain was limited at that point for that minute or for minutes or hours. It was there. That was painful, physically and otherwise painful. But from there, the interpretation, how I look at myself, what I think I might have done with this, maybe I'm guilty, maybe what I was wearing, maybe God is punishing me, maybe this, maybe all that coming together. I'm not really minimizing this, the pain itself, but I'm just saying all of that for the next 30 years, suffering. What it does is now you can't have relationship. You are easily angered. You can't keep relationship. You can't be creative. You can't progress in your life. You can't even want to cycle. You can't run because life has lost its meaning. It's suffering now. And that part is optional. I'm not saying we don't understand. It is optional. The issue is, how do I deal with that? How do I deal with that pain? Now, books have been written because people are beginning to realize that, you know what, we need to equip people with skills of interpretation. We need to interpret the pain, and especially Christians, because if you tell yourself that I'm the child of God, a virus will never touch me, no virus formed against me will prosper, and then now you're laying sick in hospital, you're not going to be killed by the virus, you're killed by your interpretation that God has abandoned me, and that can really be disastrous. So there's something about that interpretation that we need to challenge. So here's the argument by Viktor Frankl that has actually become the basis for emotional intelligence and other cognitive therapies. That is, between the stimulus and the response, there's a space, and that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. Now, Viktor Frankl was actually in Auschwitz, in one of those concentration camps there and stuff like that, and one of the few that managed to come out of there. But his point here is, yes, this is coming. Yes, there's the stimulus of pain. The response is not automatic. We can be exposed to the same pain, but we may come out of that painful situation differently or react differently. And the difference is, your power of choice is how you choose. And I've read and listened, in fact, meditations by Marcus Aurelius. The Stoicism is basically that thing of saying, deal with pain. This thing is here, and move, create your own life regardless of pain. Of course, they go to the extreme. But now when you come to the Bible, We come to the Bible and we're going to bring this thing together. So what we are actually talking about is how do you prepare yourself for pain? And the answer is you need to develop what they call self-organized criticality, self-regulation. You need to equip yourself. I mean, they've said that about the virus, the coronavirus, and any virus for that matter. It takes advantage of pre-existing conditions. When you have pre-existing conditions, pain can destroy you. And it does because of pre-existing conditions. Because I may be exposed to the same environment, but I make it. Or sometimes the reason why we suffer long it is because of pre-existing conditions. So in life, for us to be able to deal with pain, we need to deal with the pre-existing conditions, and that's where I see Matthew coming in and says, "Come to me, and I'll give you rest." Now, that's a guarantee. If you come to Christ, he says, "I'm going to give you rest." Not that nothing will pain you. Not that nothing. Actually, Ellen G. White makes a powerful statement in Desire of Ages on commenting on that text. And I'm going to paraphrase it. She says, "There's nothing in life that can make you sad. That can make you sad if Jesus makes you glad. Nothing can make you sad." I've thought about that statement. Nothing can make you sad. So if you are sad, what does that mean? If you are sad, which means sad in the sense of anxious, in the sense of anxiety. I'm not just saying sad because whatever. If nothing can make you sad, if Jesus makes you glad, what it says is the presence, that rest that God gives you is more powerful to deal with any pain that you can deal with, that you can confront in your life. In other words, the presence of Christ in your life is more powerful than the virus outside, whatever that virus may be, whatever that pain may be. It's just that at times we think what outside is bigger than what's in. I promise you, beloved, we need to start changing how we look at pain. I'm not saying we should pray for pain, but we need to change how we look at pain and say, I have been exposed to pain. I lost my mother. And then ask your question, why am I suffering? Am I not supposed to lose my mother? Don't mothers die in this world? They do, but what makes you think yours is not supposed to die? We've got these childish theologies. I'm a pastor. Why do I have prostate cancer? I'm a pastor. I shouldn't have prostate cancer because I'm a pastor. But who told you that? John the Baptist died in prison. His head was cut, was beheaded, and Christ was in the vicinity and he died. What makes you think you're better than him? Then listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't feel the pain. I'm just saying, what interpretation are you giving? What beliefs, what rhetoric are you attaching to this? I'm not so. You see, that's the thing. That's the problem of toxic faith. It is this thing, and I'm bringing this to an end now. It is this thing of saying, I'm not supposed to do this. If I lose my wife, I love my wife. If my wife gets involved in an accident, the question is why? Why is my wife dying? But why are you asking that question when there was a wife who died last week? There was a wife who died. They've been dying. But why should yours not die? I'm not saying she should, but I'm just saying, stop. It's those things that create a problem. So we've got to teach our kids and teach ourselves that, listen, in this life, life is unfair. Life is unfair. It is unfair. I mean, one guy begins his book by saying that life is unfair. And the reason we come to Christ for rest is so that we can deal with this life that is unfair. We need Christ takes care of the pre-existing conditions. When things happen, your husband leaves, it's painful. But what kills you is that it's not that he left, it's not that he was filling the void. He's gone and now you are confronted with the void. But if you were okay when he came and he's gone and you're still okay, yes, it's going to be painful, but it's not going to be suffering because you had what you had when he came and you still have that when he leaves. I hope I'm not making this thing, I'm not being insensitive here. But what I'm trying to say is those pre-existing conditions, and Christ says, I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to give you rest. I'm going to give you rest. There's nothing. And sometimes it is our fear of pain that's painful. And I think it is I can't remember the guy now who says, one of the things we need to learn about pain is to, instead of running away from pain, because we've been taught to run away from pain, that running itself can be painful, but you need to find the ability to turn around, embrace pain and transcend it. You can only transcend it when you embrace. Sometimes you must hold your pain and say, I won't let you go until you bless me. In other words, this has been painful, but this thing is here now. Let's see how we can extract blessings from this pain. We're not blessing pain. We're not saying pain is beautiful. We're not saying pain is glorious. All we're saying is, even in pain, we can find songs and praises. I mean, how many books have been written by people who have gone through pain? Books written by people who have lost their parents. Books coming from Rwanda. Books written by people who have been raped. So that out of that situation comes a flower that blesses everyone. Pain, again, beloved, does not have to be suffering. It is interpretation. And let me end there. And Paul says in 1 Corinthians 15:58, be steadfast, beloved. Let nothing move you. Continue to abound in the work of the Lord. For doing so is not in vain. Now the whole issue of resurrection and the meaning of life comes into play here. That we don't have to be moved. There will be things that will want to move us. But if you have a handbrake, then you blame yourself if you move. You have to fix your handbrake so that your motion does not depend on the slope. You decide. If you have a handbrake, even if you're on a slope, you can still there. That car may not move because you have a handbrake. We need to develop that so that even when we come to places where there's a slope, we don't just take on because there's a slope. We can pull the handbrake. Work on the faulty handbrake. We need to do that. And I'm saying to you, those of you who are watching me, things may not be like this next week or 2 weeks, but remember these words. How are you going to interpret it? And there's a lot we can say about that. How you look at God, how you look at God and the pain, God's plan, the whole issue of controversy, and the fact that we're living in a world that is infested with pain and demonic forces and all kinds of evil. But beloved, I wish you rest. May God bless you. That's my prayer. And I say amen right there.
Thank you, Fudisi, for that. Yeah, I think some really hard things to swallow there from your presentation. I did make some notes as well because I need to preach this where I am. I think I just stole a sermon. I don't know if that's a sin that's punishable, stealing sermons, but we also just have just a few things that I picked up from your presentation, and which we struggled with. One was the distinction between pain and suffering. That distinction between pain, suffering, and I suppose we also add a very contemporary term there of trauma. So pain, suffering, and trauma. What's the relationship between the three? I know that you did highlight the fact that suffering is a result of mostly a function of our inability to make sense of the pain. But then you also then have trauma over and above the suffering. So you got pain, which is, I think, you're located at the initial event or the occurrence of whatever the trauma is, and then there is the suffering, and then the trauma. What is the interaction between the three? If you may just elaborate.
Here's a guy, a cyclist, Dlamini. He's preparing to be the first black to get to Tour de France, and while he exercises, he meets this crazy security whatever, and they break his arm. That's painful. Look at what you are going to do. I mean, the training has to stop. Everything has to stop. I mean, there's investment there. There's all of these things. You think about that. That's painful. It moves to suffering because you start asking yourself, why is this? Why is that? Why is that? Why me at this time? Things it's a generational curse, all kinds of rhetoric that you bring interpretation, and it morphed into trauma. To me, it doesn't matter. Whatever comes after pain is optional, because now we have Dlamini, and I kept following him, reading his story. You know what? I came to a point where whenever I read the story, he would not talk about what happened. He will talk about what he's doing. I'm training now, I'm getting ready, I'm being healed. I said, but talk about the pain, because we're used to that. Keep talking about the pain, how they did this to you, how they messed up your program. He was not there. He says, I'm healing well now. I'm ready to train now. Last time he said he was in Germany training. He feels okay. He's getting there. He's not even talking about that. So it's optional. I would love to dwell there because it makes people feel pity, but he's gone. He's moved. He's on another side. So whatever happens after pain personally, whether you call it trauma, suffering, or whatever, depression. I know there are depression that's caused by chemical imbalance, but all those things that make you go to the hospital. You say something to me and I go to the hospital. Now, honestly, that's optional. That's optional. I'm sorry, I have to say this. I'm the president. People say all kinds of things. So I talk to you and then I get depressed and I go to hospital. When am I going to lead the conference? Now I'm in a hospital because somebody said this to me. No, I've got to quarantine all these things and let them there and lock them down and move on with my life. I can't listen, I cannot go to hospital. I mustn't because of our interaction. I must not go to, if I go to the hospital, I've chosen a wrong option. So trauma, suffering for me, I throw them in the one bag, all of those things.
Yeah. So, look, and I'm picking up something here, thought here, which you've just thrown a nice critique here, which I'm lapping up. There's also an element of getting addicted to your pain where you become defined by what you've gone through, either as for I don't know, to solicit sympathy, or because people then generally gravitate and they define you according to what you've gone through. So you're the guy that lost his child, or the woman who's, I don't know, gone through was abused and several traumatic experiences. Do you find that there is a danger of us getting addicted to the pain, not because in so much as we enjoy the fact that we enjoy it, but in the esteem that we think it brings for us, or it brings to us, such that
like the proverbial guy who gets a lift carrying a suitcase and he gets on the back of the van. He still feels, I can't put my suitcase, you can't give me a lift and my bag. So he still carries his bag because he has get to a point where he's identified with his bag. That guy with a suitcase, so if he puts the suitcase, he has no identity. In some field that they call that co-dependency. You've got a husband who drinks and you're a Christian. And then you say, oh, the husband drinks, so they're always praying and you're a strong Christian. Now your husband gets converted. Now you're no longer a strong Christian because now he's here. Now we must work for you because now you feel like everybody's not talking about you now. They're looking at the husband who's converted. So they say in such a case, as you work with the husband, prepare the woman for the husband that's going to get converted because her identity is going to change. So that's true. That's true. At times we are known, we become heroes based on our pain. And when people remove that pain or deconstruct that pain, then we feel like, I'm in trouble now.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of questions also that are coming through. Like, for example, I know you dealt with this, but maybe I think the question is necessary, is probably just calling for an elaboration on how do we know we have we have healed from a painful situation? How would we know that we have healed from a painful situation? And then how would we know, and how do we prepare ourselves for pain? So I've gone through this, and I don't want to be traumatized. And I've heard this devotional. So now I want to heal from it. And also, do you not think that maybe at times, as I don't know, as preachers, as spiritual leaders, we tend to put people under pressure in terms of forcing them to heal from pain, by maybe highlighting the weakness of enduring pain, and of being addicted to pain, that someone might feel that, if then I'm always identified by this pain, so is this what I'm doing? So maybe I should get over this and heal over it quickly. So, and then how do we know that, how does a person know that they've healed over the pain? How do we prepare for pain in future?
Yeah, I think when a person is going through pain, it's insensitive for me to say, get over it. I mustn't say that. I must say it now before you have pain. That when you have pain, you must get over it. So if I say that to you, do now, I say, you must get over it. When I come to your place and I find you in pain, I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to look at you, hoping that you're going to remember what I said. But you must be the one saying to yourself, get over it. Let me be honest. Whilst you have no right to say to people who have gone through apartheid, get over it. They have no right to say that. But we can say that to ourselves. We can say that to ourselves. That accelerates healing. You see, it's It's that inner voice, it's that language, it's that voice, that inner talk that keeps expanding, and you keep reinterpreting the thing until it's worse than what it was. You've got to get to your point and says, no, this person is ugly, this person is cruel, he's not a Christian, he's a criminal, that's why he killed me. Stop putting all kinds of things like he was meant, it's a generational curse, your father. It just deepens the whole thing and extends and delays healing. You by changing your rhetoric, it depends. It may take time, of course, but you've got to keep working on that, changing that. And that's the reason why we visit people when they are going through pain, is to help them to help them reinterpret that. How do we get ready how do we prepare ourselves for pain? By knowing that you will go through pain.
That's it.
Yeah. If listen, how do you prepare for Amashova? How do you prepare for the pain of Amashova? By knowing that there's going to be pain there. You know that there's going to be pain. The moment you know, then you know what you're going to do. If I say, how do you prepare for your wife leaving you? The best way to prepare for my wife leaving me is to learn to live on my own, and to learn to develop myself. If you don't develop yourself and say, my wife will always be there, my husband will always be there, you don't develop yourself, you don't educate, you don't go to school, you don't improve, you don't do anything, my husband will always be there, you are a fool, because husbands can die. And the question is, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do? So how do you prepare? You prepare by knowing. And by the way, this is not negative. When you know that the person you are with, that you love, may not be there tomorrow, you don't take him for granted. You appreciate every moment you spend with that person. One of the reasons why we cry when we lose people is because we thought we'll never lose them.
Hey. Okay. Yeah, that was that hammered me. I mean, I'd die if I lost certain things and certain people from my life, because I don't think I'm prepared for that. I think that's please.
Actually, the thought itself is trauma.
Traumatic, yeah. And also, don't look at me when I lose those things. And please, that day. So then you've also got another side, I think, of what you're saying, where then, I mean, you've got these people, we've got other people who like overthink and, immerse themselves in that experience of a painful experience, and they get lost in it, and so they suffer. Then you've got other people who choose basically to handle this pain differently, as you're suggesting now, which can appear to people as though you're not feeling it, you're not suffering, and you get these comments like you are strong, or how can you not be in pain when you've just lost a parent? You don't look like you're in pain. Didn't you care about your parents? But you find that someone has maybe a different or stronger coping mechanism. And also, I think there's also, again, a danger in that of So, I mean, I think you heard my question. I don't...
We can also fake that. Some say fake it until you make it. We can also fake that and stand there. Because when you do that, you are also expressing another fake theology, that God expects me not to cry. God expects me. We're not talking about not crying here. We're talking about suffering. God expects not to cry. Members must see that I'm the pastor, I'm strong. Then the next thing, you are dead. You stand, then you are dead. You are immobilized by these feelings that you can't deal with. Listen, I had a friend who lost a loved one. And we would come there and he would be quiet and be with us. And then he said to me, hey, my friend, you don't know. At night, when everybody's gone, I cry. I cry. I mean, that to me, to admit that I'm going through pain, it doesn't mean that you should fall all over. It means you must allow yourself to grieve. There's nothing wrong with that. You must allow yourself to grieve. Something has happened. And you have to acknowledge it. But then you say, but this is not what defines, this is not the end of my life. This is just another phase. I will make it. I will go through this. After this, you're telling yourself that after this, you come to me, I've just lost somebody, and he says, hey, Mfundis, how are you feeling? I say, hey, I'm feeling bad, man. It's painful, but I'm going to be fine. I will be fine. I don't say I'm fine now. I say, I know I will be fine. I will be okay. I'm not okay now, but I will be okay. You know why? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, I will be okay. And you keep telling your mind that. You keep telling yourself that. It makes a big difference. Other than to say, I am fine. I'm fine. When you are dying inside, I don't think that's what we're advocating.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. Obviously, just chatting about our. So okay, so let me say this. You brought in a nice example on apartheid, and right now, of course, we're dealing with what you call this decolonial thoughts and whatever, bringing down colonial, commemorative statues and, what do you call this, emblems, because they re-traumatize those who suffered under that. People commemorate wars and things. Do you not think in that experience, that unpleasant recollection of past experiences, when people see these emblems and these statues, that collective memory that re-traumatizes people and makes them go through the pain yet again? You go through Kylie Cha, you still see the same apartheid special planning. How does one, that's painful to observe, that's painful to see, how does one, and I'm not just limiting it to maybe the political arena, because it's an emotional thing, because it also happens in our personal lives, personally, where you get these constant reminders of a traumatic or a painful experience that you went through. There is a pain that, comes from that. Is that also something that you deal with by just, get over it?
Yes, here's a point. I'm going to make it, I said it, I'm going to bring it together. You have transcended your pain when you can extract from it a blessing.
Of course, yeah.
In other words, you say, what happened in my life was bad, but you know what? It happened. And what I am today, I'm better than what I would have been if that thing did not happen. Now, let's turn this thing around. Then you will see the power of reinterpretation. So this guy dives and breaks his neck, and now he can't have to whatever, he can't write because he's paralyzed and things. And he makes the statement when they took to him, and he says, I've broken my neck, but my neck has not broken me. So we have to make a distinction here. I'm going to live a different life. And the life he lives with a broken neck is far much more effective than the life he had when he had his neck. It doesn't mean the pain was okay. It means he has transcended it. Now, let me put it this way. This is nice. This is just amazing. You see the world that God rules. God rules in this world, okay? You know, and you can apply this in anything. You know you have overcome it when you are better than what you were before it. If you steal my bike, and I struggle, and then because you've stolen my bike, and then I'm just fast forward the story, I've got a better bike now. Now that stealing of the bike is like, you know what, that is stolen my bike, that was bad. But I've got a better bike now. Are you with me? So if you can look at it like that, listen, beloved, you have not gained anything if your pain has created a loss in your life. If there's a loss, you will always be crying. So we need, as a nation, to be able to say, there was apartheid, they did this, okay. Look at how, now, okay, go to Rwanda. I know some people don't like Rwanda. Go to Rwanda pre-94 and Rwanda after 94, like Rwanda now. You can almost say, when you find yourself being tempted to say, that thing is good that it happened, when you are tempted to say that, I'm not saying you should, but when you're tempted to say that, then you know that even the one who brought that pain is regretting where he is, why he brought it. Sure. When I do something to you, and at the end, you are better than what you were before I did that. So even the one who brought the pain regrets, because now he has accelerated. I mean, look at the guy who throws Joseph in the pit. Look at the woman who throws Joseph in the thing. And the next thing, Joseph is out there, and the brothers look at him. He says, don't worry. I mean, you can even forgive people. You say, you meant harm. You wanted to kill me, but God had a plan. In other words, from that pain, look at what has happened. But you're not praising the pain. Those who caused the pain still have to pay for that. But it is not paying because I've lost so much. It is the pain. It's like this guy who killed this guy who killed this Walush.
Yeah.
I mean, you are supposed to have stopped the whole thing. But how does he feel when he sees that this thing has moved on and I'm in jail? And to me, that's what happens. You say, whoever brought this to me will have to look at me and regret why he did it, because I will be a better person after this.
Nah, of course.
But it doesn't mean what he did is right. No.
Right, yeah. Yo, this is stuff my life. Hey, yeah, you know, I said a couple of days ago in the same group, I mean, same devotional, about the loss of my mother, right? When I was still a teenager and she died, and then I think I remembered for a couple of years after I left Helderberg, I used that as an illustration. I mean, I think to say, hey, you know, if my mother hadn't died, I wouldn't have become a pastor. So I felt for a long time that was me trying to maybe baptize my pain, make it good, so that and I think I struggled for quite a bit with, have I just baptized pain and made it a good thing, that my pastoral calling came through pain, and therefore I am because I suffered. So you get that there is that conflation of purpose behind the pain, where you feel entitled to being a pastor because you suffered to get here. Whereas, I mean, I think now you just helped me as well to unbundle that actually what may have happened is that one discovered a blessing from that to be here, not that you're entitled to be here because of what you went through. Do you find that we do that as well, that we use pain as a qualifier and to entitle us to certain things? That I've struggled so long with you, I've suffered so much for you, you have no right to leave me because I suffered with you and for you.
The Bible puts it nicely, Stu, when it says all things worketh for good. It doesn't say all things are good. All things worketh for good. All things worketh for good. Things are bad. Some of the things are bad, but it doesn't matter what those things are. All, including apartheid, including rape, including death, including losing your mother, including people stealing your bicycle, including all things, including the virus. All things work. But does it mean all things are good? No.
Yeah.
That is why God can say, here's the nice thing. So you cause me harm, you ill-treat me, and out of that experience, I get strong in my faith and I love the Lord, and one day I'm saved, I'm in heaven. And God says, you know what? I allowed that thing that Stu did, because Stu was malicious and cruel, but I let it because I knew ultimately, even though it's such a bad thing, it will bring this and that. Not that I did it. I would know that. And then he says, but don't worry now. I'm going to punish that person for what he did to you. Not only are you in heaven, I'm just using that. Not only are you in heaven, but I'm going to deal with him. You see, the fact that he did that, it was his agenda. He was not sent by me. It was his agenda. He meant to destroy you. It's just that creatively I've used this, but now I must go deal with him.
So you are blessed by what I did and what I planned. I mean, why can you go and expect wrong?
So I'm fine.
Yeah. Asioma Tsengwande here is highlighting something else to go to. Because of COVID-19, we had a lockdown and there were no deaths on our road over Easter, which is usually, a period of carnage on the roads for us. And so we had this lockdown and nobody died over Easter for the first time since 1652. So, so it's been a blessing in disguise, I suppose. But I mean, help me out here for this with the problem of entitlement as a result of pain. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, I fully get it. But I mean, yes, here is an example. I mean, when we graduated from Helderberg, you were there. You saw how we struggled at school. Now, of course, there were large portions of our experience that we were responsible for, ill preparation and so forth. But I mean, there was a lot of struggling there. You would remember when we had that huge fallout about the cafeteria, and of course the struggles that the students went through. And after that, we all got out and we became pastors in churches and started working. And then there was this move and this feeling that, hey, I suffered for this degree, right? I struggled for this degree. You better give me some respect. right? Because I suffered for this degree. Almost as if the pain and the struggle is what qualifies you to then be mediocre at what you've been called to do, but then also be respected for what you do because you suffered. You went through this, what do we call this, crucible or crucible, and you have come forth as dusty gold, And I mean, you get a lot of that in so many settings where people feel that the suffering to get something entitles them to owning it, even when they no longer deserve to do so.
And you have to keep reminding people that you suffered. You can't let them forget that.
Yeah.
Others, they'll forget to give you the praise.
Right praise,
and whenever we reenact our past like that, we usually kill our future. Because then our future will never be brighter than our past, as long as we keep really putting it up there. You saw that with the challenge that we had. No, we were out. We were the freedom fighters. So we must come back and be given this because we're freedom fighters. Even if I can't do it, I must be the mayor because but you saw what has happened.
Yeah.
Now the pain that we had, we're using it to create more pain. So the pain is not so much what happened in 1652. The pain is that this is happening now. In other words, you go through pain in order to get to another pain. So there's no rest. There's no rest where you can look back and say, this is, I mean, you go to Korea, South Korea, and you can only see their history in the museum. But when your history is on the street, then so what you said, it is always reminding. You know, when the Koreans speak, they never use the word Japan in their mouth in the context of pain.
Yeah. Okay.
No, they use Japan in the context of we're better than them. They never use it for pain. We want to get to a point in our country where we stand up and say, our metric results, in spite of this that has happened to us, is far much better in quality and in this and in that and in that and in that, far much better than what we used to have, or far much better than that, in spite of this and that and that and that. And then when we can say that, what we do, we before we give results, we start giving a narrative of where we're coming from. Then you say, now we are 82%. That's something. Remember, it has been 300 years. So we, like you put it, then we glorify mediocrity. But we need to get to a point where we say, like I keep talking about Rwanda. Look at what has happened to us, but look at where we are. We are far much better than what we were before the genocide. If you can get to that, and you can only do that when you quarantine your pain, you don't let it just go everywhere and destroy everything. Quarantine it and move on. Put it in the museum and move on, or create a better future than your past. You're frozen now. I don't know what's happening.
I'm confirming la manje.
Oh, so uphi manje?
Come ngenye device. Sengibuye ngenye device uzangifuna ungithole ukungiconfirm.
Ngiyakuvuma mfowethu.
No, I keep getting kicked out on my side, but
CrossOvr, where are you?
Do you understand? Maybe, Pastor, whilst we try and get Stu back on, you can just.
hello, Dan, can you see me?
Yep, we can. Yep, I can see.
All right. Awesome. Can you just give me Pastor Papo's screen again?
Pastor Papo, maybe you can just wrap it up for us. Maybe give us some concluding thoughts whilst Stu fixes his connection.
Okay.
Stumo?
Yep.
I'm back here.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah. Can you, yeah, so can you just, I think you, for the super screen again.
Carry on.
Yeah, so for the super, thanks, man, for that. I missed that last bit about of your last illustration, but I think the Saints got it. It was beautiful because I'm seeing a lot of feedback from that. Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions. Please just drop them on the chat, so that I'll be able to raise them with the pastor. If you got any questions, just drop them on the chat so that I'll be able to raise them with Mfundis. Mfundu Papa, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
All right. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Now I see you. It was better when I could see you.
Yeah.
And then I felt we were chatting. Yeah. I'm on my wife's device now. Tato Plus. If you're looking for me. So
It's okay.
yeah. I like that. I like that. Yeah. I like. I like that idea of you know, changing pain and only talking about it in positives. I mean talking about your persecutor or your enemy. Oh, okay, I'm back on my device. Right. So, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, I'm now saying that I was liking the idea of just talking about the persecutor in positive terms or only in relation to your achievements, as the South Koreans do. Would that be the same thought that we find in the Hebrew Old Testament, where the devil is hardly ever spoken about? His name is erased from memory as someone who causes the persecution and the pain of people, and they only ever talk about the name of God. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, look at the story of Hannah. I mean, to illustrate that point, look at the story of Hannah. There's Peninnah, but when she prays, there's no name of Peninnah in the prayer. But Peninnah is this thorn that is harassing her. But she prays to God. She says, Lord, remember. Because I said, Lord, do you see what Peninnah is doing? So that the whole subject is on Peninnah. But no, she puts herself in the center, not Peninnah. It doesn't look like Hannah really looked at Peninnah as an issue. Peninnah had her own issues, and Hannah realized that. You see, people who cause other people pain are also trying to deal with their own pain. Let me put that again. If you're trying to cause me pain and you find joy in doing that, I can sense that you're going through pain. So at some point, I'll pity you. You know, the problem with us is we think that everybody's like us. He has the same values. Like when a criminal takes your money, you say all kinds of things as if a criminal is a pastor. He's not a pastor. That's what criminals do. They take people's money. So, but that person in his environment, that's what he does at best. And you being angry at him, it's fine, but that's who he is. It's not like he has disappointed you or disappointed himself. That's who he is. And when you get to know that he could be dealing with other issues in his life, like that blind person that hit that guy on the ankle, reinterpretation. But I think the problem is that we tend to judge people and say they're supposed to behave like this. And if they don't, then we get hurt. Yes, we'll be pained because we expect better from people. But people have a right to be what they want to be. I don't even know whether we're together now. I think we need to cross over now and close the dialogue.
It seems that we may need to do so. Stu is struggling with this connection. So you can help us cross over.
Okay. I just want to read this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, please conclude first for this. That's what I was going to suggest, actually.
Yeah, I thought there was something coming from this text. Jacob replied, "My Lord knows the children are frail I must care for sheep and cattle that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard for even a day, all the animals will die. Please let my Lord go ahead of his servant. I will continue on slowly at a comfortable pace for the livestock and children until I come to my Lord at Seir. I wish I could hear what this person is driving to here, but I don't want to read into this. But I think maybe it may have something to do with my pain also. I will walk at my pace. I mustn't be hurried. God knows, and God will work with me. It doesn't look good to say it's 3 days now, you should get over it. But I'm saying to you who's going through that pain, each day must bring you closer to your expected end. You can't regress. Regressing is an option. You've got to keep moving. In cycling, they say, as long as you are pedaling, you're not going to fall. You've got to keep moving. However slow, you've got to keep moving. And for me, it's reinterpretation again. It's saying, listen, this thing has happened to my life. God is on my side, and God is in control. He saw this thing coming, and there are many texts we can use. There's nothing too big for me. As long as I'm connected with God, there's no temptation that has befallen me except that which is common to men. In other words, I don't have something bigger than I can bear. All things work for good. All those help you to reinterpret, and they work on your healing. Now, I know you are healed. I know you are healed when you can say like Joseph, you meant evil against me, but God. And we have to get to that point, because the problem is when people have done so much harm to us as we're growing up, and now you are a professional, you have your money, then you say it's payback time. No, it's not. It can't be payback time, because you cannot empower your enemies to say that they had the power to do what they wanted to do. God has shown himself through, and you can always praise him, not your enemies. So what do I say? Stu, as I close, you've got young kids there, little ones. Whenever they run and they fall, sit down with them and say, you know what, in this world, people fall, and talk with them and bandage them and clean the wound. We need to develop resilience in our children. We need to develop grit. That's the word. We need to be able to bounce back, hit and be able to bounce back. Because if we're going to bring kids that are not resilient, they will commit suicide every now and again when they're faced with a challenge. But remember, Jesus says, I'll give you rest. I need that rest too. I need that rest, man. I need that rest that says, I can fail, but I won't stop trying. I can fail. And failure will not remove my rest from God. I can go through pain, but that rest is there. I need that rest so that I can be able to move. Because if I keep suffering immobilizes, it freezes you. You can't move. You stay right there. So that rest for me, it gives us mobility. It gives us progress, and we need that. We need that so that our going is better than where we are coming from. Our going to is better than where we are coming from.
Yeah. No, thank you, Mfundisi. I'm just going to hand over to Sbu to wrap up for us. Sbu, can you please just wrap up for us, and then have a word of prayer, just in case my network cuts us off again. But Mfundisi JP, I'll give you a call just now, but thank you so much for your time and for the wise words and for the encouraging message for us. Sbu?
Thank you, Pastor Blose, and thank you very much, Mfundisi Papu. I don't think there's much more to be said in summarizing everything that's been said. We received the message. And yeah, let's conclude with a word of prayer. Let me see who will ask to pray for us today. Someone who hasn't prayed before. Zoe Soazi. Mom Soazi, if you would please close for us with a word of prayer.
How dare you? But anyways, let's close our eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this opportunity. Dear Lord, a lot of people are affected by this COVID. But here we are, dear Father, you have given us a chance to even just fellowship together virtually and still hear your word, dear Lord. There's a lot of us that are dealing with so much pain, dear Father, and we thank you for this word in season that can help us, just try and navigate through what we are living with here on planet Earth, dear Father, till we see you. I ask you to please work it out with each and every person who's still struggling with this, still grappling with this, and trying to get over it, dear Lord Jesus. I pray, dear Father, that you be with us, with our families, dear Lord, and may we grow as well, dear Lord. I pray that you also give Pastor Papu an added blessing for this word that he shared and for the organizers of this meeting. All of this I pray with thanksgiving in my heart, knowing that you heard my prayer before I open my mouth. Amen.
Thank you, sis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Mfundisi. Thanks, everyone. You'll get details of our next session for Friday evening on our social media platforms. We've shared the handles, so please follow us and stay tuned to details for the next session on Friday and on Sabbath. Cheers, everyone. Have a great evening.